World-renowned food artist Carl Warner produced his culinary interpretation of the classic spaghetti western film trilogy, made entirely from spaghetti and other Italian ingredients. In his film Foodscape debut, Warner has brought Sergio Leone's masterpiece, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, to life using traditional Italian ingredients from pasta to pancetta to celebrate the remastered Blu-ray release and to mark the 90th anniversary of the studio MGM. Warner produced the Foodscape following a trip to Turin, where he sourced a lot of the ingredients and found much inspiration. The iconic scene in which the mysterious figure of the man with no name stands among a bleak graveyard in the desert was created using over 20 different Italian ingredients, including gnocchi, various pastas, risotto, dried herbs, Parma ham, bresaola beef, parmesan, polenta, olives, Italian breads, and of course, spaghetti. The image took weeks of planning and was created by Carl in his Boro studio over 2 days. The Sergio Leone Anthology Blu-ray set. The Sergio Leone Anthology includes the Man with No Name trilogy, which is A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And it also includes Duck, You Sucker. I just read the back of a picture found inside the Blu-ray set, but there also is a little booklet that I will now read. Sergio Leone, Smoking Guns, Epic Myths. There is a reason that modern filmmakers such as Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, excuse me if I pronounced that wrong, Sam Peckinpah, and Clint Eastwood claim epic movie maker Sergio Leone as an inspiration. Every cracked whip, smoking pistol, and devastating punch thrown in westerns made during the last 4 decades is a nod to him. Although he was born and raised in Italy, Leone permanently changed the face of a distinctly American film genre, the Western. Protagonists in early, more romanticized Westerns are folk heroes. In Leone's films, they're anti-heroes. With eyes burning and guns blazing, they are fierce, mercenary, and occasionally ruthless. But the lines drawn between the mostly good protagonists and the villains in Leone's films are indelible, and there is no question that justice will be served. Here are 4 seminal Sergio Leone films, 3 from the iconic Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, along with Duck, You Sucker. All are brazen, all feature characters filled with self-interest, and all are audacious, good fun. The edgy, addictive, Latin-inspired scores created by Leone's fellow countryman Ennio Morricone replace the gentler, more triumphant music of older westerns, and are bold enough to be a character in themselves. Key scenes are drawn out into long, self-conscious character studies. Actors' eyes are filmed in extreme close-ups, and rapid cuts take us from one character's phase to another. Even the countryside is less hospitable than in previous Western genre films. Yet, although Leone's films are unapologetically in-your-face and macho, they're not humorless. The characters regularly take aim at one another, at times literally. Whether one man keeps his partner's hat wafting in the air by repeatedly shooting at it, or an animated bank logo suddenly appears above a man's head. The self-parody in Leone's films reminds us that these stories are, after all, entertainment. I will now give my thoughts on the set and each of the 4 movies. Okay, so this is the next morning, and I was just casually watching a review of Duck You Sucker, and I found out that it is the second in the Once Upon a Time trilogy. So, with the Dollars trilogy, I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly without knowing it was the third one in a trilogy, not even knowing that there was 2 other movies. And then, for some reason, this set has the Dollars trilogy and the second of the Once Upon a Time trilogy. So I watched both trilogies out of order. Why even have a set called the Sergio Leone Anthology when you include the Dollars trilogy, which is great, but then you include only one movie from the next trilogy? Why even include that at all? Just give me all 6 movies. That's just retarded. That's retarded. I just found that out and now I'm ticked off. Because you just made me watch them out of order again. And so, is there a set of all 6? Sergio. Oh. So yeah, that's the negative I have of this set in general. Now the specific one I got, the negative I have is for a few dollars more won't stay in its spot and it keeps falling out. But other than that, the movies are great, but I just would have wished that it would included all 6 movies. Because it just seems just bass backwards to me to include an entire trilogy and then say, oh, let me just have the second of a like, if you're going to put one of a trilogy in a set, put the first one in there, right? But yeah, the first one in the Once Upon a Time trilogy is Once Upon a Time in the West, and then the third one is Once Upon a Time in America. And because Duck You Sucker has like 4 names, and one of its other names is, because it has Duck You Sucker, A Fistful of Dynamite, and Once Upon a Time Revolution. So it could be Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time Revolution, and Once Upon a Time in America. So, yeah. That is it for my review of the set in general. But before we get into the reviews of the movies themselves, which the final review will have me oblivious to the fact that it's the second in a trilogy, because this is technically after I was done making the video. But before we begin, there will be spoilers. Please, for the love of God, buy this set, even though it's incomplete. Buy this set, watch all the movies, and then come back and hear my thoughts on them. Because there's going to be spoilers in it, and they will ruin the movies. These are A Fistful of Dollars is a great Western, classic Western. It was the first of the spaghetti Western genre. It is great. The second one, awesome. Just downright awesome. The third one, masterpiece. Okay? Masterpiece. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a masterpiece. It's the greatest Western of all time. Even if you don't like Westerns, you should watch it. And then, Duck You Sucker. Even though it's the second of a trilogy, you probably should watch Once Upon a Time in the West before this one. I would assume so. But watch Duck You Sucker. Because it's just a great, that one's a great movie too. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Duck You Sucker are just masterpieces. So, without further ado, let's get into my reviews of them. So, my thoughts on this set. It is surprisingly thin. I thought it was going to be thicker. I absolutely love this spaghetti thing. This little Carl Warner, where he made it out of a bunch of Italian foods. That was like, I just looked at it and I was like, okay, cool. I thought it was like foam or like just a little clay model or something. I didn't know it was made out of food until I read the back of that. I was like, holy crap, that's funny. But then this little booklet is neat. Kind of just an introduction. I don't know, but I really like the food sculpture. And then it just has little foldy things where you fold it. The picture I'm showing now is when you fold it once. So it's a fistful of dollars, and you fold it, then you get, for a few dollars more, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And then you fold it one more time, and you get Duck You Sucker and the back. But as you can see in the picture, the thing for a few dollars more does not hold the disc well. It keeps falling. It really cannot hold that disc that well. So, but overall, you should probably get this set before you die. I mean, this is like an essential collection to life. You know what I'm saying? This is great, high quality. I mean, so high quality, in fact, that you can see the graininess of how old the movies are. Like in the Evil Dead Blu-ray set, both of those movies, you can see the graininess of the old camera they used. It's great. But excuse my television noise. But other than the graininess, I mean, it's very high quality. I love how high quality it is. You can see the lines in people's lips. You can see people's eyes in, like, without blur. These are really good, high quality Blu-rays. And now I'm going to talk about how high quality the movies themselves are. So, let's start with the first one. A Fistful of Dollars is like it reminds me of a old video game from the 90s in the way that it doesn't hold your hand at all. Modern games will hold your hand, give you 10,000 hours of tutorials before you even can begin to know what's happening in the game. This movie it doesn't really explain anything. I was kind of confused at what Clint Eastwood's character was doing. The man with no name, or Blondie as he's known in the third one. I'm just going to call him Blondie. It's very gritty. There's not a lot of happy moments in this one. It's just a lot of hardcore killing, you know. The title track, I guess that's just the main theme. It's not really an album, so it wouldn't be a title track, but the main theme is one of my favorite Western themes. I mean, the soundtrack in all of these movies are great, but this one's iconic. It's just, I don't know. This one's very primal in its westernness and gritty. It's just very gritty. It's my least favorite of the four. And I don't know. The soundtrack's good. Clint Eastwood plays a good character, if you could even call it a character. I mean, he just says a few cool lines and then kills people. But the ending scene, spoilers, I mean, you expected spoilers. I'm talking about these movies right now, but the Back to the Future reference that they did in the third movie, where Marty takes his thing off, his chest armor. My dad even didn't know that that's what this was referencing. See, it's a great movie. It's just my least favorite out of the four, but definitely watch it. I mean, I watched the third one without even knowing that there was that it was a third movie. So, yeah, let's move on to the second one. Oh, and what was it? See, the first one, I don't really know what the villain was. I know it was like the Rojo brothers, but I don't know. I want to talk about the second one now. This is a better movie. I feel like the first one was just an introduction. This sequel is a great, as a sequel, it's fantastic. As its own movie, it's better. It's better than the first one, I mean. There's an obvious villain in this movie. I forget his freaking name, but you can clearly tell he's a psychopath. There's a clear objective: kill the dude. Clint Eastwood's great in this movie. And the introduction of the bad for the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's actually kind of a good guy in this movie. They're just working together to kill all the bad guys. But the scene where he shoots his hat into the air is... that crap made me laugh. Like Clint Eastwood's face when the dude who I want to call him Angel Eyes, because that's what he's called in the third movie. But when he steps on his foot, and Clint Eastwood just, his face, sheer anger, it was hilarious. And he punches him, and he shoots his hat, and then Angel Eyes shoots Clint Eastwood's hat all the way in the air, and it's just such a great scene. I feel like this movie just is like the perfect balance of grittiness and comedy. When it comes to this Western right here in this trilogy. I think it introduces the Angel Eyes well. And the villain's great. The bad guy, whatever. He's great. I mean, he's a real bad guy, because he kills the dude that caught him before and put him in prison. When he breaks out of prison, he kidnaps him and's like, the reward money you use to raise a family, because he had a wife and a baby. And so he basically kills the wife and the baby as like revenge, like right in front of him, as revenge for putting him in jail, because that was his reward money. And basically that was the reward he got for putting him in jail, so he took his reward away and then gave him the chance to kill him in a draw. And that organ, great. Again, the soundtrack in this movie's good. But yeah, it's just a more balanced movie, I think. I knew what was happening better. I feel like the first one was like, oh yeah, that's a Western, but this one's like, oh yeah, that's a Western. Like, I feel like the first one's like gritty, like that'll put some hair on your chest type crap. But this one's like, I just feel like it's a more balanced movie. That's all. With humor, it's a more humorous movie. I think, yeah, it's a more humorous movie. But yeah, I think that's enough talking about the second one. I like the second one. It's cool. The good, the bad, and the ugly. As I have previously stated, I watched this before I knew there was a first two, so this was the first Western I've ever seen. Great introduction to Western, am I right? But it drew me off guard. I think this one is where Sergio Leone really got good at directing, because even if you watch the first two before this one, I think you would still get caught off guard because it's a solid 5 minutes before anyone speaks. And then when they do speak, it looks like it's out of sync. And if you watch the first two, you'll get used to that, because with these older movies they have to dub it over again for the audio of the voices. So I forget, I think it introduced the bad first, or did it introduce Clint Eastwood first? I don't know, but I like the good, where it just pops up the words the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I like Tuco. I just remembered his name. Tuco. I love his character. Great in between guy, you know? And great quotes, like if you're going to shoot, don't talk, like that quote. And then just great, and it's long too. It's freaking long. Like you go on an adventure with this movie. You go on a freaking adventure. And I love the fact that it takes its time. It doesn't rush at all. This isn't the kind of movie that you can just sit down like, oh yeah, I want to watch this movie. Nah, you gotta watch it, man. Like, it takes its time. It's suspenseful. And, like, I didn't know what was happening half the time, because it was in the middle of a Civil War, and there was some Civil War stuff going on that was kind of unrelated, but it was their journey. It was kind of in the way, because it was their journey to get to the gold. And I really want to rewatch it, because it has been. I didn't watch it when I got this set. I watched it on Netflix. No, I actually think I watched it on 1, 2, 3 movies. But anyway, the soundtrack for this one's great. It has 4 good songs in it. It has the title, the main theme, like when someone hears the word Western in movie genre context, their mind just plays. And I love how every time Clint Eastwood kills someone in this movie, you hear that. But then the story of the soldier, very solemn song. I really like that one. And then I can't talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly without talking about the graveyard scene, the ecstasy of gold, Metallica's prologue to all of their concerts. That track alone is amazing, but the scene coupled with it is just great. And then, like another quote, there's 2 types of men: the men who, I forgot. The men who dig and the men who something. But yeah. And then the final draw, a 3-way draw, which in the second movie they reused some of the scenes. I mean, the theme, they reused some of the theme things, like you can hear some of the, in the trio is the track, you can hear some of the, like I was hearing some of the little doodahs from the trio in some of the things where they were doing the, they kind of did a 3-way draw in the second one too, but Clint Eastwood stood out because it was the bad guy and Angel Eyes. But it was Angel Eyes, Tuco, and Clint Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood made sure Tuco's gun wasn't loaded, so so basically it was only a two-way thing, but you didn't know that. And then I like how Clint Eastwood hung him, but then shot him at the last moment, because Clint Eastwood's the good guy, right? He doesn't want to really kill anybody who doesn't deserve it. And I like the fact that he catches him, but then frees him, so he gets all the money, or they split the money. But he keeps getting money for the reward, and no one knows that that's money. But because he keeps catching him because he's a bounty hunter. But it takes you on a journey. It takes you on a ride, and it's just filled to the brim with Western stuff, and it's a classic. Stands the test of time, other than the dubbing. But now we get to talk about the one I just watched. This is the best one out of the four. Duck, You Sucker. I originally thought Duck was a character, and it was like, Duck, you sucker. But no. It's Sean's catchphrase, because he explodes stuff, hence its other name, A Fistful of Dynamite. Duck, you sucker. This one doesn't have Clint Eastwood in it, which it doesn't matter. This isn't a Western anymore. This is a war movie. It's a movie about war. The Mexican Revolution with America. This was just a great movie all around. I love the comedy with the carriage that they were all living in. And he just flips the thing up. And it's like, Duck, you sucker. And then, or no, he flips the thing up below. He's like, oh, there's a hole in the roof or whatever. But then when he goes and pretends to pray to the Virgin Mary or whatever, or just praying in general, and he comes back out and he's like, Duck, you sucker, and then the whole thing blows up. It's great. It's great. And then when he frees all the prisoners by accident looking for the money in the bank, that was a great comedy. That was some great funny, but all the memories of Sean's life just added to everything. And this one was also a long one too, 2.5 hours. What I liked about this is just how much it felt like, how much it wasn't like just a gritty killing people story. It was different than the trilogy. It was less, ooh, I need to kill a big bad villain. There isn't really a villain in this story. It's the weird dude with humongous ears, but it's not really, there's no real villain. It's just Juan wants the money, which he ends up doesn't even wanting at the end. And then Sean wants to win the war. Which he ends up doing in the end. Or Juan, actually, but get to that in a minute. The flashbacks are great, really add to what's happening, and I just love how little it holds back. Like when they steal all the rich white people's clothes at the beginning, you literally see a dude's whole crotchular region flash in the camera. Like, I'm pretty sure if you paused it, you could see his butthole and ball sack and everything. Like, everything. All hairy buttholes and everything. And then, yeah. So, and then, when the scene after they kill everyone on the bridge and Juan goes back to the grotto and you just see his face and you don't know why he's sad. I'm thinking like, oh God, he has PTSD from killing all them people, but no. He says all of them. And then you realize his whole family and all of the people that they freed got killed. And then it just shows all of the bodies, and then it stops on the kid. And then the dude that just decides to die in the train crash, the doctor. Great character arc there. That was good. Great character arc with everybody, in fact, in this movie. This movie's just way better done. I feel like the first one was like, it was a second movie, so he's like, oh yeah, let me just do a Western and make it gritty. And then the second one was like, oh yeah, let's throw in like a character duo, which made the movie a heck of a lot better, but then there was some comedy in there. And then the third one was just a masterpiece with all the suspense and everything. But this one was just had more direction and felt more like a movie than an adventure like the third one was. It felt like a whole story. Like it was 2.5 hours, but not because it drug it out like the third one. It kind of drug out some scenes a little bit. I agree, it was slow in some parts, but it needed to be because that was the suspense part of it. This one, it had this whole big story that it wanted to tell, and it didn't cut out any parts of it. It didn't cut out any parts of it at all. It kept everything in there and started from the beginning, like the very beginning, where you just see Juan getting bullied by the rich white people. And then all the way to where Juan and Sean are fighting in the war. And I called it I was like, the train dude died. I didn't really see that coming until it was obvious. But I was like predicting that Sean was going to get shot by the evil dude with the big ears, and then Juan would get angry and just unload on him. And it happened. And I still cried. I cried. I don't cry at movies. Movies and TV shows and stuff don't make me cry. There are two other things that made me cry. One of them more than this and one of them less than this, but I feel like it wouldn't be right to tell you what they were because it would spoil those, and this isn't a review of them, so anyway. But this made me cry, man. Not verbally. I haven't cried verbally to anything. Never bawled my eyes out. The end of this movie made me cry. A good cry. And I was like, dang, I didn't expect to cry this much. Because this movie just threw you through so many emotions. It was ridiculous. It was funny. It was courageous. It was serious. And it was one of the saddest movies I've seen in my life. And so, hello, it's Jacob from the next morning again. The Jacob that is now aware that Duck You Sucker was number 2 in its second trilogy. So yeah, that was my review on this set and the movies held within. If you would like to see more, like a review in this style of other sets I have, such as the Evil Dead set, Indiana Jones set, Lord of the Rings Extended Edition set, or the Star Trek sets I have, or the JoJo sets I have. If you want to see reviews in this style, even if it's not even movies, it could be books and stuff. Definitely, tell me. Let me know if you want to see stuff in this style, because I know these are long-winded as heck videos, but, I mean, I'm putting, that was literally, like, 10 reviews in one, so, yeah, have a nice day, and, bye-bye.